Hey, this is Spencer with Computer Advantage. We are an authorized Sonos dealer, and we are excited to bring to you the new Sonos amp. It is launching today at authorized dealers like ourselves. You can get one ordered from us today before you can even order it from Sonos.com. So it's really awesome that they're doing that because this is a specialized product. So we're going to go ahead and unbox it, set it up, test it out, do some things with it, and just see how it performs. So we're excited to get into this video. So the packaging of the Sonos amp is very similar to what we found in the packaging of the Beam. So they've gone to a different design, a little more probably eco-friendly, I would imagine. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. So there's the amp. It comes in nice protective cloth so it doesn't get scratched in the packaging. Very nice. And so here we are with the new Sonos amp. It is a very smooth, clean design, similar to what we've seen in the latest Sonos products. Very different design than the Sonos Connect amp. So we'll get to that in a second. What else comes in the box? The standard packet of information from Sonos, basic setup information, things like that. And then we've got cables. So let's see what cables we get in here. What we get with the Sonos Connect, I'm going to say Connect amp a lot, but the Sonos amp, we get a power cord, and then we get the speaker connectors. So we get nice speaker connectors, which is a pretty nice feature. We'll take a look at that in a minute, but they're not attached, so a lot easier for installing. Okay, so now we have the Sonos amp, brand new, coming out today, and the Sonos Connect amp, which has been out for a few years. If you know Sonos products, you know this is one of their oldest products. Overall, very different design. What they've done with the amp is it is now obviously a little bit wider, a little bit shorter. It's going to fit into a rack a little better, so you can fit two side by side within a standard rack, and it fits in a 2U rack space versus having to have basically a 4U space with heat for this one. So on the back is probably where the biggest change happens, and just is very clean design on the new amp. Everything is flush, so everything is recessed in there. You can see the RCA port jacks are recessed for your line in and your sub instead of sticking out. So you got those recessed. And then you still have your two Ethernet ports. You have HDMI. The HDMI port is to come from a TV, so you can go ARC, the audio return channel, out of a TV HDMI port that supports ARC into the into the amp. And that will allow you to get your TV sound to a pair of powered speakers. You can also set up two amps in a room, so you can get basically what's considered a 4.0 surround sound system. So you can have two fronts and two rears. This is designed more for a custom master bedroom type scenario, most likely for more people. For most installations, that's where it would be used in. And the center channel is divided into the left and right channels. In that kind of a situation. So you'll see the speaker terminals are different. Instead of having these push pin ones, which are always hard to find and reach if you're reaching into a rack or something like that, it's very hard to get these in right. You have these new connectors. I guess these technically aren't called banana plugs since they're not individual plugs, but maybe they still. So you can thread your speaker wire and then just push these plugs in. And they do include dots on them, so they have the red and white black dots so you can get them lined up properly. So it also has an IR sensor in it, so you can use it with your TV and use your TV's remote or whatever remote you like to use to control your volume. It will be able to control the volume of the amp as well, just like it does on the play bar, play bass, and the Beam. So what we want to do is we want to hook it up not to some bookshelf speakers because, they're bookshelf speakers. We are actually going to hook them up to our Wharfdale Jade 5 speakers, which are nice tower speakers, and see how it powers those compared to our nice receiver, traditional receiver system. Okay, so we finished our listening test. So in our listening test, we listened to several songs multiple times on both the Sonos amp and the Sonos Connect amp. And really what we found is not a lot different. Based on our test system and our listening ears, we didn't really notice much of a difference between the two systems. If anything, we would give a slight edge to the new amp, a little bit clearer sound, a little bit brighter sound on it, but in reality, if I was just around the house, doing things around the house, working around the house, listening to music, I don't think I would notice that difference. And so really sound quality, very similar. Now, our test system is subject to our speakers, our room, our ears, things like that. I can see where having the extra power of the Sonos amp would come into play with other systems. You know, a lot of outdoor systems that want a little more power. I could see that extra wattage coming from the Sonos amp to really help those systems. Or in systems where you want to install and hook up 4 speakers to a single amp. Again, extra power is going to be provided by the new Sonos amp, so I can see that would be a major benefit in those types of installations. But in our system, slight edge, but really a very even sound quality. So obviously sound quality is very important, but there's a lot of other things that go into the new Sonos amp that make it a really nice device and a very nice upgrade over the Sonos Connect amp. First of all, the new design is new. It looks modern. It is really designed to blend into your environment. And so it really is going to look nice in virtually any installation. Where the Sonos Connect amp was great, but it's showing its age. It also, when the Sonos Connect amp first came out, it really wasn't designed as a rack device. You know, it was really designed for do-it-yourselfers, hooking up bookshelf speakers, things like that. Well, it's evolved into something that's installed in a lot of audio AV system racks, and it really wasn't designed to fit in a rack. So the new Sonos amp fits in a little bit smaller space, so it fits in a 2U space instead of a 3U space. While we were doing our testing, we noticed that the new Sonos amp has a 1/4-inch mounting thread on the bottom of it, which I thought was interesting. So I did a little bit of searching, and I found that SONOS is actually getting ready to ship a mounting bracket for it. And so it mounts either to a wall vertically or even upside down. So you can actually mount it upside down. So you can put it on the underside of a countertop or the underside of a desktop, you know, in your house. So you can hide it, really nice. And you can do that because the new amp is a little bit cooler than the Connect amp. When we were listening, we felt them both. They both got warm, but the new amp was noticeably cooler than the Connect amp was. And so, okay, so the outside has changed completely, looks great upgrades all around on the Sonos amp, but inside things are different too. We already mentioned the power. It's rated at 125 watts at 8 ohms, and it's 4 ohms stable. So it has a lot more power than the Sonos Connect amp, but other things changed inside as well. First, Wi-Fi was upgraded, and some people may not care, but new is always better in terms of Wi-Fi technology. But one thing that it makes a huge difference on is when you're setting up the Sonos amp as your rear speakers. If you ever try to set up a Sonos Connect amp as your rear speakers, you know that the first thing you had to do was hardwire with an Ethernet cable the Sonos Connect amp and your soundbar, whether it's the play bar, play bass, or the beam. You would have to have both of those connected to Ethernet, either through networking switches or directly to each other. And that was because the Wi-Fi latency on the Connect amp was too slow for a good, reliable surround sound. So the Connect amp wasn't originally designed to be rear speakers in a surround sound system, so it didn't really matter when they developed it. But our needs and our wants have evolved over time. And so not only can you do this wirelessly without running an Ethernet cable if you don't want to, but it also is controlled through the Sonos app. So before you had to go online, find instructions, go to web browsers, follow instructions to try and figure out how to get your Connect amp as your rear speakers. Well, now it's done through the Sonos app, so it's easy to use. It's what you would expect you would get from Sonos. It's just as easy to set up as setting up 2 Play 1s. So that is much improved thanks to the new Wi-Fi chips in the Sonos amp. So speaking of TV sound, not only can we set up the Sonos amp as our rear speakers, but we can also set up the Sonos amp as our front speakers. So with the new HDMI port built into the Sonos amp, we have the ability to connect from our TV's ARC HDMI port, so audio return channel. You just have to look on your TV to find out which one has the ARC label on it. On our TV here, I believe it's port number 3. So we have to hook up our beam or our amp to HDMI port 3, and our audio comes out of the TV into our Sonos equipment. If your TV does not support ARC, that's okay. You can get HDMI to optical adapter. Sonos has chosen to not include that in the box, but it is something you can purchase separate. And while I wish it was in there, I understand the decision not to, because probably in the real world, a lot of these are not going to be hooked up to TVs, or the TV will support ARC. You know, any of the newer TVs support ARC, so probably very few of the amps that are sold will actually need that adapter. But if you need one, just know it's not in the box, but you can purchase it separate, so you're not out, you're not out of luck. So using it as our TV speakers, we can use it as a left and right front TV system. We can put two of them together and we have a 4.0 surround sound system. So we have that TV control. When you set up a Sonos amp for the first time, it'll ask you if you want to set it up as a stereo pair of speakers or connected to a TV. So you'll be able to pick your options at setup, how you want to set up, and then the Sonos app will walk you through the appropriate setup, whether it's a TV or not. So you have all that built into the Sonos amp, which you don't have any of that built into the Connect amp. And then finally, because of the newer insides and the newer technology and the processing power of the new Sonos amp, you also have native AirPlay support built into the amp. So in our other videos, we've talked about AirPlay, but basically now I can send any audio from my iPhone, iPad, or Mac computer straight to the speakers that are connected to my Sonos amp. And with the Connect amp, I could do that if it was grouped within the Sonos app to an AirPlay compatible speaker. So if I had a Sonos One within the Sonos app, I grouped it with my Connect amp speakers that are in my ceiling somewhere in the house, then the AirPlay sound would play through the Sonos One and the Connect amp speakers. Obviously that required grouping speakers together. It wasn't instantaneous. So now with the Sonos amp speakers will show right up in the AirPlay menu, and I can choose it just like I could choose the Sonos One or the Play 5 or the Beam, and I can AirPlay right to those speakers, whether they're my outdoor speakers, my ceiling speakers, my bookshelf speakers, my floor standing speakers. I can AirPlay right to them through the Sonos amp. So that's a big deal in my testing of the amp. I've used that several times with my in-ceiling speakers that are hooked up to the amp, and it works great. It works how you would expect it to, and so that's another major benefit to the new Sonos amp. So wow, that was a lot of changes that we just reviewed. It was a lot more than I was even thinking of when we first started this morning, when we opened up the box for the first time. I was focused on the aesthetics, the new design and the extra power we were getting with the Sonos amp. That's kind of what I had focused on since Sonos announced the amp a couple months ago. But really, when you think about it, the insides, the better Wi-Fi, AirPlay, the TV connections, all those things, the things that are internal really make it a much different device and a much more capable, more versatile device than the Connect amp ever was. So that's, I kind of was surprised by how many things were changed in it. And so that's great because, you really are going to get a lot more out of this product than you ever could have out of the Sonos Connect amp. So there's a lot of ways you can use a Sonos amp in your house. Leave a comment below and let us know how you would use one in your house. And if you're in the Sarasota, Florida area, stop in at Computer Advantage. We can show you the new Sonos amp or any of the Sonos products, give you a demo. We can help you install it, whatever you may need. So thanks for watching and happy listening.